Hello, founder. Today we are going to talk about Azure Architecture Center. It's one of the best resource information, on my opinion, for learning architecture applications on the cloud, specifically on Azure. But the principles that we learn here, you can apply them in GCP also, the cloud provider on AWS. There are different services with different names, maybe different configurations, but patterns that you use, the principles, the guidance that you can see here are important. And are important for you to understand, for you to review from time to time. I want to talk about one specific area. So in this area, we are going to discuss mostly of the best resources that I see are the most important for you to understand. But you must know that when you are depending of the application phase or developing phase of your startup of your company, shouldn't uh, prioritize this type of services on how you work with them and how you use. As I shared with you in previous podcasts, I think the use of AI and cloud resources is one of the most important tools that can increase leverage on your team and in yourself. There are a lot of discussion right now about if it's worth it to have the cloud provider under on you can use your cloud provider for your services for your application, and we are going to discuss in hopefully in next videos about these. But right now I believe that if you are starting, you should use AI and cloud for you can increase your leverage, your speed, and your development phase. And this is what we're going to talk. I'm going to talk about architecture, how you can architect your applications. We're going to deep dive on the coming videos about how you can use the Azure services, which by the way is offer you one of the most cost-effective way to release your application. So let's begin today with the principles of well-designed application and also the best practices for cloud application. Okay, so you must understand that there is a transition that is happening or what's happening in the coming era, and it's happening and it's going to continue happening. And maybe that's an opportunity for you to review that there were type of systems that were created for some type of on-premises architecture that now has to be migrated, has to be designed in a different way so we can um, quote unquote we can use what we call modern cloud. So monolithics is now the decomposed applications. Designing for predictability and scalability is what we now name designing for elasticity and scale. Relational databases, we have polyglot persistency, so where we can mix this type of storage technologies. Synchronized processing, asynchronous processing, we have designed to avoid failure, which was named MTBF, and you can even design for failure here with is named MTTR. Occasional article dates, frequency and smart dates. There is a whole transition of principles and designs that you have to understand. At least have a guide or at least have a good architecture under your belt where you can use this knowledge and you can decrease the cost. Okay. This, of course, you must understand that for using these services, you go and you must use the first principle that I always use on every of my clients. You must understand the principle of simplicity. And this is one of the most important principles that, by the way, is not here, but I'm going to tell you that is one of the most important thing that you must watch on. Because we engineers and software engineers, computer scientists, we tend to over increase the complexity of everything we do because we always want to get the things as best as possible. It's our habit. Okay, so most of the people don't understand. Most of the developers, depending on the team you are, by the way, so don't understand that it's better to start in a simple way and start evolving from the principle and using the right ways of best services as simple ways as possible, and you can increase complexity as you move on. You don't have resources to that are expert. You don't have a way to pay them. You must start with simple configurations on your service, and maybe just a simple stack that you can stick with over the maduration, over the I like to call it that way because it has different steps. What I call maduration, which is a Spanish name. But basically in English, it's just the design phase or the testing phase, testing idea phase. So you can increase the speed to create your MVP, minimum viable product. Okay. This guidance is structured in different ways. You have architecture styles, which there are different. You have n-tier microservices, web queue workers, event-driven, big computing and big data. You have technology choices, compute, data storage, and messaging. You have application architectures, which is not the same of architecture styles. You have reference architecture, design principle, design patterns, and best practices. We're going today in this podcast, we're going straight to design principles and design patterns. And very important, um, cost optimization, operation excellence, performance efficiency, reliability, and security. These topics, by the way, are one of the most important. And when I started to study my actual certification for architecture, I started to with this with this with these topics here. Because if you are a software engineer, if you are a developer, even junior software engineers have some idea, basic idea of this concept. But when you go to cost optimization, operational excellence, efficiency, reliability, and security, there you will see that there is not much information over there that is worth to review. I mean, there are a lot, but you can't. It's hard to find it, and and you don't have too many people that are expert in this area. I think at least is what I mean. If you compare with the other topics, right? That everyone's talk about the other, the patterns, the style, the best practices, the best principles, etc. So today we are going to talk here about let's go to um, directly through application architectures, and we're going to deep dive in the design principles that I do like for you. And what I'm talking specifically about design principles, because if you are a founder, you must understand that everything starts with fundamentals. Everything starts with principles, basic principles that you must understand from the infrastructure, from the way you develop, from the way you think, from the way you take decisions. You must understand with mental model. And for me, this is one of the most important pages that exists in this documentation. Why? Because you can get these principles and you can use them in any other uh, cloud provider and any application, and they will help you to understand how much how 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 this principle can impact, or how the design you make can impact one of the most important things that you must watch out when you're starting, which is cost. Cost. Remember, if you are a founder, you must follow basic principles that can help you decrease cost. If you are thinking to create a company, okay, you are not thinking to create the best product right now. You are thinking to create the best solution, the best viable solution, the best business model with a viable solution for you can iterate over, you can learn over, and you can build a successful business. There's a different mindset if you come here to this information, and the goal that you can have might be not the same. I must be not the same as the goal that the architecture or the developer or the computer scientist. So you must understand, if you are a computer scientist or a software engineer or a programmer, when you go here and you're creating something, you must understand that your goals, when you read them, when you memorize them, when you try to explain them, should be just for use them to decrease the cost to decrease the cost. We can also say to increment the speed of the delivery of your team, of your application. Okay, design for so we are going to talk about design for self healing, make all things redundant, and minimize for coordinate. So the first thing that we are going to talk about design for self healing is that Normally, this principle is to help you to respond quickly to failures, right? So to detect failures, to monitor your applications in a way that you can act quickly. I think this is an important step, but this is an important step that you can skip on your application or when you're building your first step. Okay, remember this is a different mindset that you must have when you are designing an application to create a company at first place. So you must start simple and easy as possible. So maybe don't use these services with this amount of patterns. You have transient fault handling, you have retry patterns, you have circuit breaking pattern, bookhead patterns, queue-based low leveling pattern, which is, by the way, one of the most that I like when you have actual service books, for example, that you can use a queue and you have those two applications that you can use this application. You can use this queue to hold the messages or the events depending um, of the availability of the other two processes. And you can increase the load. It doesn't matter how big is the rate of one application, um, or but you can always consistently use a logic app, for example, or actual functions or a worker process to consume sequentially with a defined or finite scheduled process. And this will help you a lot, but you don't need to use it because when you start um, adding specific services to create these patterns, you will understand that you will incur in cost a lot. Even though mostly all of the services on Azure are not as expensive for this type of experimentation that you have to do. Okay, so when you design for self-healing, you must understand that you have to have a way to monitor your application. And one of the best way to do it is just activate App Insight. It's one of the services that Azure has, and monitor or log the basic stuff. Okay, monitor the basic stuff. You don't have to use analytics. You don't have to just log the just use Serilog, for example. If you use .NET, you can use Serilog and set it up really quick. But just creating a structure, basically a structure for you can log your most important events. So please don't go here when you go to read this information. Don't go and try to create this type of um, implement this type of patterns from the initial or from the first phase of your solution. Okay, another important topic that I want to talk to you about this design for self-healing principle is that the use of availability zones. Most of the big companies that I've been working with, they don't have availability zones applications configured properly. Okay, I have several clients. Unfortunately, I can't tell you the names, but I have several clients where I'm not using the availability zones, and this is important, but it's not important for you. So if you are on a start, you shouldn't use availability zone in the first place because you're going to have the same solution duplicated. You can use other strategies. Okay, like I think you shouldn't use any other strategy even though. Okay, you only will incur in availability zones when you have a successful. That's my opinion. Okay, that's my opinion. um why? Because if you don't have a mature business, it's better for what I see from my experience. It's better just to have some latency on your systems, and add some other resiliency strategies that doesn't cost the same of having all the duplicated services in different data centers. Okay, so but it's important that you understand that you have at least some strategy for you monitoring what is happening. It's the basics that you can do. The second point that we're going to talk today in the design principle for Azure applications is about redundancy. Redundancy is an important topic, and normally you can use load balancing for this, or create redundant some redundant architecture provided, as you say here in the tip area, right? For many workloads, some redundant architecture provide the best set of trade-offs. Consider multi-region architecture if your business requirements indicate that you need to mitigate the unlikely risk of a region-wide outage, and if you are prepared to accept the trade-off involved in such an application. Basically, this idea is what is the same, explained it the same we explained it just before, and just it's better read it, right? And yeah, it's important that redundancy, as the same as a multi-region implementation, you don't care about that. But you must have something. There are certain type of, if you, I'm going to explain you in one of the next podcasts the best workflow for one of the for us startups to start a company, for us founders to start a startup company. And one of that flows, you will see that the most important uh, inside pipeline that you have inside that workflow is related with payment. And for that, you have to have some type of failover, and so have some type of manual feedback, failover transaction recovery that you can have on the application. So this is the only aspect of redundancy that you must add at the beginning of your application. Okay, when you scale your company, which is a different idea, you can go add the load balancer before your servers, and you can configure this load balancer to handle the load of each server. And you can have different services on different computer. You can include so you can change your architecture and start using microservices, or maybe some pods with some type of services. You don't even have to go and use microservices in the whole architecture, configuration, complexity design, like using a Kubernetes or something like that. So you just need to have a way to handle the load of the balance and manage your services in a different way. It can be just an APM with two endpoints in different configurations, and you can handle the cost effective. The most important here is that you always have to trade off the implementation with the cost and the speed, which for me are the first three most important critical ideas that you always as a founder has to have in mind. Okay, and one of the ways in, um, you can, for my opinion, what I'm seeing from other founders that I've been talking with is they use a lot NoSQL databases. And with NoSQL databases, you can have this redundancy on the database side by default. But you the best thing about using NoSQL databases at the beginning is that you don't waste so much time doing doing all the things that you have to do when you're dealing with so try to resolve all the problems you have to deal with normal databases, with transaction databases, all up. Okay, so think about maybe just using a blob storage account to save some files, and you can have those files on and read them and have some process to read them and get the data from memory. Okay, that depends. The strategies are many, but I must encourage you to always think about speed and the trade-offs between speed and transaction cost. Okay, and we are going to finalize with coordination, minimize coordination. I think I think depending on the complexity of your solution, you should go to use directly CQRS patterns. Why? And maybe event source patterns. You don't need to use event source pattern if you don't need it, but segregation of of um, the segregation of all the write and read operation for me is pretty important. It will give you some value, on my opinion. It will give you some value because it will give you some. It will add some speed on the development phase. Is you don't need to. If you don't need to. Sometimes when you are in the developing phase, your validation phase, you need to have some transactions that are still happening, and you need to be changing other sides. So this pattern will allow you to change some sides of the application without affecting the others. Maybe the reads without affecting the writes, or maybe the write operation without affecting the reads operations. I don't know, but it's important that you must understand SQL patterns. I think is one of the I like it. I like it a lot. I use it on most all my solutions, all my complex solutions, all of them. You need to add all these patterns. But again, I hope this video this is being helpful for you. I just want to create a series talking about how we can use this and optimize actual services for us founders. Um, and in this application, I hope we discuss successfully the first three principle of the design principle of Archer application, which they are designed for self healing, make all things redundant, and minimize for the most important idea I want to leave you today is that when you are a founder, you have two most important ideas. The last one is gonna be the most important, but the first one is when you use the information, as I've been saying in different videos, when you use the information, when you use this type of information, is the goal that you must get from the information you read depends on the things you are building, or on the person you are, or on the goal indeed that you want to accomplish. If you just want to read the actual information just for reading, just do it. It's gonna make you a better software engineer, better computer science, better engineer, better programmer, better developer. But the most important thing is that you can get this information and use it appropriately. And it's one of the most important ideas that junior developers forget. They start reading because they are hungry to understand things, but you're going to forget. So it's better to be practical with the information you consume it accordingly depending on how you're going to use it. And the last one, last idea, and I want you to leave it today, is that cost effective and speed is one of the most important trade-off that you need and you must take care of. See you in the next video. I hope you stay fine and good and great. Bye.